Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence.
This meditation is designed to combine our power.
I left the meditation up there from the other day. My bad. Okay, so just the tease on the meditation. This is Shane, and I have today's guest, Angie Dollar. How are you doing today, Angie? Now, of course, if you recognize the voice and the face, this is Angie Dollar. We caught up with her in Sedona, and let me switch it over to both of us here. Okay, so sorry, still kind of rusty, half asleep and stuff. So yeah, Angie's a healer, and we caught up with her in Sedona a little bit, but I wanted to get her back on here to just really just discuss more of what she does. And I just remembered to unmute you so you can say hello. So luckily you weren't talking this whole time. There we go.
Yeah, hello. How are you?
Wonderful. Let me turn that down a little bit. We're peaking a little bit. Okay. Sorry. This is live. So, okay. So I have you as a Twin Flame Ride YouTube channel, but I wanted to switch that to your web address while you're talking. So just a little bit about yourself. How did you, what's your awakening story, and how did you get to this point where you're an energy healer? And because I think a lot of people have that feeling of going through this transition and wanting to make a change and live for more of what they feel their purpose for life is and all this. And it is kind of difficult to take that leap, especially if you've got your 9-to-5 job and you feel comfort there. A lot of people get comfortable. They're like, look, I got a job. I don't want to take any risks, but it can be risky sometimes for people. But you did take that step, and you want to kind of bring us up to speed on your journey and how you come to this point.
Yeah, it was a huge risk because I was working professional job for years, probably in the professional area, for 20 years. But I felt pushed out of it. I had some things that happened. My daughter, I was always alone raising my daughter. So it was great that I was in a professional job. I was actually teaching, so I had a lot of time with my daughter. I was there end of the day, every day, holidays, summers, I was with her, which was great since her dad was never around. But, as soon as she turned 18, it's like I started being pushed out of that professional job. It's like the universe was like, it was time, it's time. This profession served you and your family, but now it's time. And what happened was my sister had been struggling with cancer. She passed away in the summer 4 years ago. I had to have a surgery. And then within weeks of going back to work, they said, you're going to change to a new position on Monday. I was like, what? And that's a big thing for a teacher. You have a whole classroom of stuff. I had my students, I had my work partner, and I was going to be just like, boom, changed to a new position. And I said, well, what's that going to look like? When am I going to move my classroom, transition? They're like, oh, you just do that when you have time. That means you do it at the end of the day. It was just like a total upset. It was like I couldn't take anymore. I'd already gone through this thing with my sister's cancer, my surgery, and then change of job. So it was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like I can't do anything else. And I had already started feeling this awakening. I already knew that there are such a thing as other lifetimes. I already was, clairvoyant. I already was clairaudient. I already had, things that I had come to terms with, that I wasn't a freak, that it was okay to have these gifts, because I used to hide them away. I used to think, wow, this is like demonic or something. There's something wrong with me. And I actually had someone in a church say, this is a gift. So I'm not a big religious person. I'm more of a non-denominational person, or more of a spiritual person. But it was nice to have someone in a church say, this is a gift. You can see it all through the Bible. People are channeling all through the Bible.
You were
So,
lucky, actually, because I think most religious people would say that, that's the devil, and sort of try
yeah.
to scare you out of that. Because a lot of people in religion are just sort of living in fear. It seems like, and they're afraid of anything that's out of the norm. It's like, dude, read the Bible. It's full of gifts and miracles and miraculous, supernatural things happening. And why are you afraid of these things? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's lucky. I feel like that was one of those divine synchronistic encounters that someone there told you that, because
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at Moses. I mean, who was he talking to?
Right.
It was all through the Bible. So, that helped that I had this woman say that to me, and then I've had my boyfriend, my twin flame, who's been supportive of me through this. He said I support you no matter what, even if I don't totally agree with everything you're doing, everything that's going on, I support you no matter what. And it's gotten to where the last story I told him, he's like, wow, that's amazing. So it's like the people around me get more on board with it. I think they're awakening, coming to terms with the change in the world a little more. Um, but yeah, back to that awakening. As soon as I fell out of working the professional job, I had someone tell me about energy healing. I joined a book group, and someone was talking about a book, Course in Miracles. I don't align with everything in that book, but there's some things I like in the book. But he said, yeah, try energy healing. I had no idea what it was. And then someone else who was there with him, a friend of his, said, oh, yeah, this girl's great, go to her. So I went to the session, and I think I'm the typical person, like probably some of your viewers are looking at me now like, man, this stuff is weird. Because I walked in and I thought, this stuff is weird. What is she doing? What is she doing to my body and everything? Because she's a kinesiologist too. I don't do hands-on work, but she was doing hands-on work. She was doing work with this pendulum and these charts, and it does seem like the devil's work. It's like, what is this? But since I had two people recommend her and say, you're gonna get something out of this, it just calmed me. And I think she had a way, like if you're a good healer, you have a way of calming the person's ego, calming them down, clearing off some of that fear before they even come into you. So by the end of the session, I was like, wow, this feels good. Within a couple weeks, I was back there again. I kept going back, kept going back. I took a class she was offering. I started doing meditation that she was offering. And then I started getting, these little certificates on my own of learning the spiritual response therapy, Reiki, hypnotism. I've gone through the Beyond Quantum Healing. It's just like I'm just wanting more and more, and it doesn't feel like work. It feels like it's like, wow, I'm getting paid and I enjoy I enjoy what I'm doing, and the clients are happy. So it's been a great process, but I think with a lot of people, we're afraid of being criticized, we're afraid of being hurt. If you believe in other lifetimes, people have been killed for doing this kind of work.
Totally,
Just,
yeah. And I
yeah.
think some of us have, in fact, this is like your realm of work. I mean, don't you have to deal with people that have come out in the past and dealt with things in a way like Jesus did when, he came out and they just killed him? And I mean, this has been happening. I mean, even a couple of centuries ago, we probably would have been killed for even having this discussion out where people can hear.
Right, right. You have to be doing it in hiding. And imagine if you're a medicine woman or medicine man or a healer, and then you fail. You fail in your tribe or in your clan, your group, and because you can't save everyone. Some
Yeah.
people, it's their time to go, or they had a plan to pass away at a certain time. So even having that where you're doing a good job and then you fail for whatever reason. So
And that lingers with you throughout lifetimes that people have to deal with it, I guess.
yeah, we bring a lot of stuff in this lifetime, and every client that I've had, they're open to other lifetimes because I try to kind of slowly walk into that. Like, what are your religious views? What are your views with other lifetimes before I start talking about it? but they're all open to it. And I'm like, how much do you want to know? like, do you want to know how you've been killed? Because some of them are like, it seems like people want to know this kind of stuff. It's kind of a healing situation to know, okay, I've gone through things in these other lifetimes that are affecting me here, and now I'm ready to let it go. I'm ready to let it go and move up to the fifth dimension.
It does help to be able to connect the dots, I guess, and figure out why you have fears and phobias about certain things. So when you hear how you might have died or what you might have had to experience in a previous lifetime, it can probably really help to connect those dots and just release it and let it go and say, okay, now I know why I feel this way about this, or whatever. Because a lot of times we have phobias, like maybe you're scared of heights, but maybe you died falling, or maybe you were killed for exercising your gifts, and now you're sort of afraid to come out because you have that lingering fear, like, how am I going to be treated if I come out and expose myself openly in public about these gifts that I'm experiencing. And that's why I love this safe place we've created here, where we can all sort of share in a safe place, because it really is. I mean, I doubt anyone here is looking at you like you're crazy, because our group here is such a great little group, and it's like, I kind of, in a way, don't want the channel to grow that much, or just kind of grow by word of mouth, just to keep it like it is, because it feels so great with all the love that we feel in the chat, and how accepting everyone is and open-minded everyone is. So I really dig it. So let's get into sort of what you do, because it's a lot of you do BQH, which I took the course too. It's an awesome course, and it really opened me up to a lot of the possibilities with that. And I think it's a great course that anybody should add to their toolbox. But what you'd actually do is similar to that, but without the hypnotism. So you can actually help people visit past lives or give them information. And it's, I guess it's sort of a quicker modality, isn't it? I mean, they don't really have to go into so many specifics. You want to talk about what you do in that respect?
Right, because I am a certified hypnotist. I've gone through the traditional hypnotism program, and then I've done the spiritual response therapy, and then the beyond quantum healing. But the good thing about the spiritual response therapy, and I just took a 6-day class on spiritual restructuring. The good thing about it is that you can go through a lot of lifetimes quickly. Like when Michelle came on your show on one of the Tuesdays and talked about my healing, she's like, wow, I was going through so many lifetimes. The thing with hypnotism is, like, you take the time to, get people to that state. You're hypnotized. They're looking at the lifetime, and it takes a lot of time. I feel like even for me, when I've been hypnotized, it feels good to be hypnotized, and you're just looking around or feeling or hearing whatever. For me, I see everything. I hear it all. My high self's chatting at me, or I'm engulfed in that lifetime, and it's cool. I don't want to leave it. But it takes time, and people are paying money, while you're doing that. Whereas with spiritual response therapy, you're just going through boom, 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 a bunch of lifetimes. And I'm also asking, what can be cleared off and healed without us even looking at that lifetime. So it is a quicker kind of modality to use. And if people don't want to, feel or know something that, like, you've been murdered in a lifetime for doing this kind of work, then your high self's going to protect you and not show you that kind of stuff. So for me, I want to see it. I want to know it and see it all. I want to become aware. But essentially with this kind of work also, there is, like you say, there's an awareness. There's an awareness that things have happened in this other lifetime that are affecting you and holding you back, and you can release them. Because everybody deserves to live a happy life here, happy, healthy life.
That's absolutely true. So with this kind of work, I guess it's a little less immersive than the BQH. So for the person, they're not, I guess, reliving it personally, like seeing the visuals and stuff. It's more like you're presenting the information to them. That's why they're able to go through the things quicker. Is that sort of how it works?
Well, it depends on their level of intuition. Like when I was doing it with Michelle, who comes on Tuesdays, I there's so many Michelles. Michelle Wolf.
Yeah, Michelle Wolf.
When I was doing it with her, she's highly intuitive. So she was able to see things. And there were actually one or two lifetimes her and I were together that were brought in, which was cool.
Oh, wow.
So, I feel like since she was intuitive, my intuition was at a heightened state where I was, really seeing a lot of details of these lifetimes instead of just going through seeing a few things quickly. So it depends on their level of intuition. We can also, they could have closed down their intuition some, closed down their connection to whatever they want to call it, high source, high self, source, God, whatever. We can work to clear that off so they can be more connected. Um, but yeah, it depends on their level of intuition. They're at minimum by the end of the session, they're going to feel lighter. Everyone says I feel lighter or I feel better. And then you go up to the people who are, who have a good intuition. They're going to say, yeah, I was seeing portions of this lifetime, or I was feeling something, or I was hearing something, or I had an awareness that the person I'm married to in this lifetime was with me in that other lifetime. So it's really cool.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, is it when people are? Do you have people like Michelle? It sounds like you sort of brought things up, and then she could remember it just by you talking about it. So, in a way, she did remember some of it.
Yeah, it's like the door is open. So the thing I like about spiritual response therapy is, I've heard people call it a very clean modality, a clean channeling, because before I even start, I make sure I don't have any dark energies around me because they move, they come and go,
Hmm.
There could be something around you now. These energies, we have the light and dark that we're dancing with all the time. So I make sure I'm totally, totally clear, clean channel. I make sure my ego is very low. And there's just this whole process I go through that could take me about 5 minutes, 2, 3, 5 minutes. Whoever I'm doing the healing work with, it could take 10 or 15 minutes to get them clear so that we're both working together. Our high selves are working together, and then the channeling can flow. Then this channeling can flow from source and help to heal them. And it's like once we clear off, some of these dark energies will come in and try to interfere with the clearing. Once we clear some of this stuff off, some of these extra souls who are hanging around causing little problems, it's like they're more open to receiving the healing. They're more open to receiving whatever they need to gain from the clearing and the healing.
How often is it that itself is the problem? These sort of entity attachments, if you will, or just dark spirits hanging around. I mean, is it ever really that's the problem? It's not really a previous life. It's just, maybe I don't know how people pick up dark energies, or if it's just like maybe because I've noticed some people resonate with worry and fear and stuff, and I can see that if you're sort of always sitting around worrying and in fear, that would sort of attract dark energies that like to feed off of that lower vibration. But is that ever really the problem, or is it ever is all of that due to a previous life? I mean, is it? I guess it depends, right, or on the person, or how does that work?
Well, with the spiritual response therapy, we have the belief that there are these layers like an onion. And so you start to clear things off as you start to clear off programs that you've created in this lifetime, and in the other lifetimes there are negative beings attached to those things. So if you're depressed in this lifetime, you've probably got negative beings. They're sitting around feeding off of it. Like if you think of, I don't know a whole lot about the extraterrestrials, star seeds, they like to call themselves, but think of reptilian mentality of feeding off negative energy, or Anunnaki, some of the ETs who supposedly feed off negative, energy. These dark beings are feeding off the negative energy, like the depression, the sadness, the loneliness, wanting to commit suicide, anger. They're feeding off that. So the way I'm picturing them now is like a football game where they pile on top of each other. So you're
Right.
depressed, they're just coming in, piling around you. And then it's hard to get free of that by yourself. So I can come in as a clear channel and help, free that. You know, in the Bible, if you look at the Bible, it's like when two or more come together. So I think of it like that. Our high selves are coming together. Power of eight, like you had, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like what you do. You have Lynn McTaggart, is that her
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
Like you had her on the other day, which was really cool. You know, you're bringing together these high selves and you're helping to clear stuff off people who can't clear it off. How can you clear it off? You've got all this stuff on top of you, around you. You're immersed in your own, you know, all of your own darkness. So it's pretty hard to get free of it. It's almost like I think people will say, well, I asked Jesus to come in, source, my high self, whatever. It's like, how can you get there? You know, you're like, you're looking for a hole. And people say, oh, Jesus can do anything, God can do anything. But it's like, yeah, you gotta get there though, you know. Sometimes you
Right.
need help. Sometimes you need, you know, the energy healing, the hypnotism, some sort of healing to help you, you know, kind of break free of that hold. So it's
Right.
it's programming, it's dark energy, it's contracts we brought in here, it's dark souls who are lingering around you. It's all kinds of things. It's cords. It's a lot of stuff.
So when you do this clearing, and people experience this feeling of feeling lighter, that continues on after the session.
Yeah, I can continue on, but I tell people I've had most people do more than one session. Like I have some group sessions online if they want to do more than one at, you know, a discounted price. I tell them, I'm like, you know, if you've been around in this world for 30, 40, 50 years or more, you know, you've accumulated some stuff.
Right.
And then if you think of it as, you know, things you brought in from previous lifetimes, you may need more than one session. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because yeah, if you've been in this nice full life and you've accumulated stuff here, on top of that, bringing in stuff from other lives, that it could take some time, and then a lot of it could be connected too as well. I can see how there could be a connection that has followed you. I think my mom, she was ultra religious, but she called it familiar spirits that sort of travel through, through your ancestors and your family line, and some of it might not even really be your energy to begin with, but it was sort of it's been pestering your family for generations, and nobody stops it, and it can really stop with us. We can stop that, and then it doesn't continue on through our ancestors or through our down through our kids and their kids and grandkids and all that stuff. So
yeah, we have to look at that lineage thing also, because some people are still around. They have the lineage. I was talking to a friend yesterday because we did a was it Google Hangout we did, or we did a Zoom together, and we posted it on Facebook, and I posted it on YouTube. But we were talking about the lineage. She said, you know, that like her and I still have people who were affected by the Great Depression because my parents were old enough to be my grandparents. So my parents and my grandparents lived through that Great Depression, you know? So we can have all kinds of lineage things going on affecting us. It's like, it's not fair. But I think we're here to heal it off. You know, we can heal that stuff off. We can heal it off, you know, backwards several generations and forwards several generations. So
you think it's becoming easier now with the energies coming in, the cosmic energies? You think we're just sort of in more of a good environment for clearing things off that's been hanging around and pestering us for decades?
I think it probably is easier. Because I'm trying to think if I was only introduced this about 4 years ago. The guy Robert Detzler, who started spiritual response therapy, started it in the 80s, I think in 1985, and it
Mm-hmm.
stemmed from a hypnotism book, which I like because it goes with what people commonly, you know, recognize hypnotism. Um, so I'm kind of wondering if it's easier with the energies now, or if it's also that more people are doing it. More of us are awakening to it, and we're just kind of walking through, spreading the light around.
Yeah, I think more people are being just the awareness that's spreading. I think of that scripture in Daniel where it says, talks about towards the end of time where not people will run to and fro and knowledge will increase. And I think the internet is a perfect description of that because never before have we had this technology at our fingertips where we get these questions in our mind, which I believe a lot of times comes from a higher source. And then we look it up and we feel like it's just this thought we had and we just looked it up and then we're led to different things just from a thought we have, because we can just jump online and it's like, well, I wonder about that. Let's see what that's all about. And then, how many rabbit holes have we jumped into when we do something like that? There's this whole world we didn't know about, like we're talking now about healing energies. How many people are going to get this idea, come across this video in a synchronistic way? They think it's just coincidental, but then they start hearing about what we're talking about and they become interested in it. And, it just sort of spreads in that same way. And it's like this awareness that we're dealing with now, just on a very natural sense. We can see how just the technology of us being able to connect like this worldwide and share this information, where we couldn't do it a couple of decades ago. So that alone I can see being a huge help in, clearing out a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and it's 1:44 now. Speaking of coincidence,
Yeah.
I was looking at that as you were talking about more and more people becoming aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not and I was going to say it's not a coincidence.
Right.
Before I looked at the time, I was going to say, nothing's a coincidence. It's people are starting to realize it's the synchronicity. It's the synchronicity, and like looking on YouTube, and it's like, wow, now I found this thing that fits exactly what I was looking for. And you just go more and more. It's in a good rabbit hole. You go more and more into the good rabbit hole.
Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing the way things happen. You'll have a conversation with somebody and then something will come up. You're almost crazier not to realize it's not a coincidence. You're like, there's no way. I just came across this video. Someone was just telling me about this. Is someone trying to send me a message? Yes, someone's trying to send you a message.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's clear the more you sort of look into this and try to disprove it, at least it's been this way for me, the more I try to be like, is it a coincidence? And I look at it closer and closer, the more it starts happening. And then the more you get this clearer connection that, oh, wow, I really am being helped by some kind of higher benevolent force. I'm on the fence about what it is. Is it God or the Holy Spirit or our higher self or whatever? I'm not really sure about that, but I feel that it loves me, cares about me, and it's been guiding me my whole life, even when I was in the church, even when I left the church, and it's just always been there helping me. And I'm really not on the fence about that. I'll be on the fence about what it is, but I know something's there, and it's been helping me. And the more I try to disprove it, the more it shows me, no, I'm really there. I'm really helping you. So. And I know a lot of people are experiencing this whole thing. And okay, so you didn't need the Mandela effect to wake up. So this is one thing I wanted to get into, because a lot of us, we saw the Mandela effect happening, and we, it kind of woke us up, or it jarred us awake, because I've been on this lifelong truth-seeking journey. So you found out about the Mandela effect after you woke up. Are you finding it's a useful tool?
Yeah, after I woke up, when I first started having like clairvoyance, both my parents were psychic. My dad was super psychic. He wrote stuff, for your master's degree, you write the thesis, and you have a little dedication in the front. He wrote, I was like 9 or 10, my crown is like vibrating now, which is like, that means yes. When that happens for me, it's a yes.
Right.
Because I have to tell clients sometimes, like, oh, I don't need the pendulum. I just got this yes. He wrote in the front of his thesis, in his little dedication. I was only 9 or 10 years old. He wrote stuff about the future, about me. I was like, you can't have any more proof of that. It's in writing, and that stuff's published somewhere, at the university. It's like, holy crap.
Right. That's cool.
It's like he wrote what job I was going to have. He wrote about my personality. And I was like, this isn't really dedication. This is future. This is future stuff. You wrote that was going to happen like later, like 15 years later and on, and still going on, so you can't deny that. But then when I was in college, years after that, those things started to happen. Then I started having these, I guess it's called prolific dreams. I'd have a dream, and the very next day that thing would happen. And it would be such a weird dream that I would remember it. Like I remembered a girl having a beard. And I'm like, why am I dreaming about a girl having a beard? The next day, a girl was walking around college with a beard painted on her face like she was going to be in a play. That was what was happening to me in college. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
So, but I still thought this is evil. And then a couple of years later, like I said, it's nice. I met the church lady who was like, no, it's okay. It's a gift. I had shut it down. When I realized, oh yeah, it's a gift, it just started going, whew, and I just let it go, So
Do you think your higher self, if you sort of resonate in fear about your gifts coming online, your higher self pulls back a little bit and
yeah.
says, "Well, she's not ready," or do you think they're just sort of dripping it in there a little bit, so you'll have these experiences, and then putting this person in place in your life so that you're more open to it, and you release the fear and be a little more accepting of it? Do you feel like everything's orchestrated in a way? Because it feels like so much in our life is orchestrated the more you look at it.
Yeah, I think it's orchestrated. I think we did make a plan to come here, and believe me, if anybody thinks it's nuts, like a few years ago, I would think it's nuts. I would think, wait a minute, I've got free will. I'm independent. I'm in control of my life. There's no plan.
Right.
But I know there was a plan. I've seen too many things come to pass in my life that I've looked at it and I'm like, since I've been doing spiritual response therapy, I would get these, like psychic. Like I don't want clients coming to me thinking I'm psychic, but I do have psychic abilities. But I'm a healer. I'm wanting people to come to me for healing. So I've had too many things where I've seen the future of my life, and then it's happened, and it's happened, and it's happened. So I know things are planned. I know some things are more destined to happen. I feel like we have paths we can take, and if we do certain things, we're going to go along these paths. But I feel like some things they've already happened. So,
And I almost feel like we do have free will, but we have these catalysts that's been set up in our life that,
mhm.
if we sort of get the message, it might be something smaller, like you get fired or something, but then it might build up into something more serious, like you break a leg or you get injured in a car accident to sort of make you have to take time off work and sort of get you back on track. So I feel like there's these catalysts. So we do have free will, but if we start getting off track too much, our higher self, because if you think about it, if we have free will, but our higher self is part of that free will, so we can have the free will to say, use our intention to win the lottery. But if our higher self knows that would completely ruin our life, for instance, and we'd
Mhm.
go and maybe, die in a boating accident, or get caught up in
Mhm.
drugs or something and overdose, or you know what I'm saying, there could be so much more that you don't see that your higher self sees. So it's like our intention and our free will work in concert with our higher self, which has this broader perspective of life, and it knows, like, oh no, that would send you down the wrong path, so you can't have that. So it's not really, you're not getting the free will, because it's still your higher self saying, no, I can see that that wouldn't be good for you. So I kind of see it that way, in a way, because there's been things that, how many people have wanted to win the lottery or something, sort of like this blanket idea of life would be so much easier if I was just rich, you know what I mean? But you don't see all of the other little factors that would come into play where your higher self has this broader view. So I feel like, it's sort of like we have to rely on the eyes of our higher self that can see, that's not like confined to time, and they can see this broader picture. But we're like the doers on the ground. It's like we're the feet on the ground that's doing everything. And the more you're connected and working with your higher self, the more you can sort of stay on track and live the purpose and not have the worst catalyst come around to bump us
Mhm.
back on track. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely. I think our high self, I like to think of it, it sounds kind of negative to think of it as like they're like this puppet master, moving us, but they're trying to move us to the best, the best outcome. It's like you say with the lottery, maybe you'd get caught up in drugs or something or die in the boating accident. They're like, no, sometimes you don't know what's really best for you. I'm trying to send you on the right road.
Right.
And with the clearing that I do, with the healing I do, sometimes the high self thinks, oh, you can learn through something negative. It's like, no, we can clear that off. We can work to re-educate the high self and say, okay, we want to learn through positive programming, positive things in our lives.
That's very true. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
can think it might not even be something serious like that. It might just be that, you won the lottery, you go off to some island, you're living by yourself in luxury, and you're not helping all the people that you would have helped
Mhm.
along the path. So it could be something like that as well. But yeah, it's like um, it could be a negative thing that gets you back on track, but you can learn that lesson without that negative catalyst in place. So that's part of the contract, I guess, and part of the information people can get with clearing these energies and learning their lesson without having to take the hard road, if you will.
Right. Or you may go off on that island and not meet a twin flame, not meet some master teacher who's going to help you in your life, something.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it still is like a 3D thing, a 3D desire. And I guess we should be, our desires should be more 5D grounded and the unseen and the bigger picture of what's going on, not just, you know, being on a constant vacation and enjoying life in that respect.
Yeah, it gets tough because we're living in this 3D world, and for those of us, like, I know I've lived on other planets, we can be like, man, this world is tough. It's tough dealing with people. I'm different from a lot of people. Just don't fit in, and it's hard getting up and going to work, and doing this job I don't like, relationships I don't like, and then it's like, man, Earth kind of sucks sometimes. So you want to win the lottery, but I think you've got to bypass that and say, okay, what kind of job can I do? And like me and a lot of people, like, take a risk, start that business, do what's in your heart, because our universal source, prime creator, God, whatever, wouldn't put that seed inside of you of wanting, a different job where you don't feel like you're working. Like, I don't feel like I'm working now. I'm helping
Totally.
people, and I'm enjoying it. We have, a lot of us have that seed inside of us of something that we can do that can make us happy, and we can afford to live on this planet.
Totally.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
can move more to that fifth dimension, because if I'm happy all day at work, and then I'm happy, I love the man I'm with my twin flame, and love my daughter, and I have some friends, and like, I'm putting myself in that 5D, or I'm pushing up to 5D so many hours of the day every day. It's a great feeling.
I totally agree. Yeah, I've never been happier. And, I often bring up the lottery as an example because it's one of those things that I think you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I don't need to win the lottery. Everything's just working out the way it's supposed to be working out. And, it got up to like over 1 billion. And my son was like, you already get a ticket. I'm like, we don't need a ticket for the lottery, man. Everything's working out the way it should. And, we don't need that. I mean, we've got higher help right now. And the last thing we needed is, all the troubles that would come along with $1 billion. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, you had Sedona. I mean, what is better than that? I drove in there, and I drove like you did, and I was like, as soon as I got to Sedona, I was like, man, I feel like I'm home. What does this mean? I have to always think, okay, is this a past life? Is this life? I'm like, and okay, I know it's a past life. If it's this life, whatever, I got to just allow it, because I don't want to know everything. I'm kind of like, okay, I want to see what happens. you know?
oh, definitely. Yeah, you should check out if you should check out Saturday or the Friday Night Love stream. We had a caller, Marcia, that called in talking about her experience in Sedona when she was just going there to take pictures. That I think you'll really enjoy that. I think she was the first caller, so everybody loved it. I think I talked to her for almost 2 hours, or around 2 hours, because she had this awakening experience there, which was a really cool story. So I know you'll enjoy it since it's all
Yeah,
about
that's cool.
Sedona or whatever.
Did
But
she have like a sudden awakening? Because I kind of
yeah,
think, I wonder what that would be like for people. Because for me, I was like,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
know.
On Bell Rock, actually. Yeah,
Oh,
she
cool.
she had
That's
this
cool.
urge to take her shoes off, and she got grounded and was overwhelmed with emotion and started crying. And of course, her boyfriend was with her, like, "What's wrong with you?" and all this stuff. She's like laying down on Bell Rock, and she's like having these visuals of the vortex and everything. And it's a really cool story. I know you'll enjoy it, being that you've experienced Sedona as well. But so, are you in Sedona now? Or are you back in Houston?
Yeah, I'm back home. I went to Phoenix, the Phoenix area, to do this class for 6 days. It's by Robert Detzler. It's by the same guy who did spiritual response therapy. So we look at what people are holding in their body, like negative energies they're holding in their body from surgery or from traumas, or whatever you can hold in your organs. I had a friend. So I went to Phoenix area, and then I went to Hawaii because my boyfriend's working there for 3 weeks. I went to Hawaii for 5 days, and
Nice.
and so while I'm in Hawaii, I guess we had gone out on a boat. We did a few things there, and we get back to the room, and Bryce is like, I gotta take a nap. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I'm kind of thinking, am I gonna take a nap? What am I gonna do? And my friend was like, it's a friend, but she's also a client. She's like texting me saying, hey, someone in my family's going into surgery. Can you do a clearing? Like, she's going into surgery right now. She's like, send me a bill. And I'm like, yeah, I'll send you a bill when I'm done. I felt kind of like it's more urgent than I do the clearing.
Right.
So I start to do the clearing, and I'm in Hawaii. And my boyfriend's sleeping we have a suite, he's sleeping in the next room. I'm like, this is interesting. I'm sitting in Hawaii doing a clearing, for somebody. But
Dream
it was,
job, right? I said, what a dream job,
it
right?
was a dream job, because I'm like sitting there, I'm looking at trees outside the window in Hawaii. But, I'm like totally focused. I'm like totally in the moment doing it. And, I'm just going down this list of what's coming to me from my high self, And there was a point where I could actually see a light being walking through the hospital, spreading light. And I thought, I didn't ask for it. I'm just focusing on her family member, I'm just focusing on that. So essentially there was an ultrasound that showed that one of her ovaries was twisted and there was no blood flow. So, we were thinking afterwards, like, wow, they could have removed that organ. But when the doctors went in to do the surgery, they're like, no, the ovary was fine. There must have been, maybe the ultrasound was wrong. So I'm like talking to the client after, I'm like, that ultrasound wasn't wrong. She said, no, it wasn't wrong. She said, I know for a fact that your clearing changed the outcome to that surgery. That's what she said. I was like, wow. That's really cool,
That's amazing. I'm looking at this rainbow light uh, shining in behind you. It's really cool looking.
Oh,
Streaming.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't close it anymore.
Oh no, it's just really cool. I wanted to. You can actually. It's not just light. It's actually rainbow beams. It's pretty cool looking. I wanted to go full screen and show
Oh, yeah.
everybody that. Yeah. So what happens with how all this works out then?
So it worked out. The girl, her family member just had a cyst, which was minor.
Mm-hmm.
Her ovary was fine, the blood flow was fine, and we thought it was funny that the doctors couldn't explain it. They just said, "Oh, the ultrasound, maybe it was wrong."
Right.
And she said when she looked in the doctor's eyes, like it was two female surgeons. And I told her, I said, "Yeah, I knew it was a woman doctor." Because I'm like, when I'm in that mode of healing, sometimes I'm seeing a picture and my high self said, it's a woman. Like my high self is chatting with me. It's a woman doctor. And she said, yeah, it's cool. You picked up on that. And then I picked up, it was more than one doctor because I was clearing around. My high self was calling it the main doctor. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, yeah, it's cool. You picked up on, there was more than one doctor. And she said, you picked up on the staff, that there was some cattiness going on between women and the staff. She said, you picked up on that. And she said, yeah. And she said that she saw energy flowing through the hospital. And I said, yeah, I saw that too, even though I didn't ask for that. I asked for it to focus on this woman. But yeah, her ovary was fine, wasn't twisted. They didn't have to remove it. You would think if the blood flow is cut off, she was worried about that too, that they would have to remove it because it's gonna die. The organ's gonna die. So yeah, it was really good. But even when you do this kind of healing work, and I see things and hear things from clients all the time, it's still really cool for me to hear that it works.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's kind of funny the way we are as humans. It's like you can have this miraculous thing happen, and you're in awe about it, and then as time goes on, your brain tries to dissect it and put all this doubt into you and about it, and it's like you need another little miracle to boost you back up there because I don't know. It's just like over time you just start doubting, and I see it happening to a lot of people that's waking up. It's like, oh, finally, they're going to wake up. They saw this little mini miracle happen. And then, like, you talk to them a few weeks later and they're like, yeah, I just don't know if it was really what I thought it was. And, and it can really happen to anyone, no matter what level they're at. But it seems to really happen a lot to people that are waking up, just beginning to, they're not really awake yet, but they're like teeter-tottering right there at, the grind, the daily grind and working in 3D and, thinking you're crazy with thinking, well, maybe he is onto something and miracles are happening and things are happening. So it seems like they're right at that state, that in between point.
Yeah, they may need some more kicks of miracles around them over and over, and synchronicities, Mandela effect, all that.
Yeah. So what was your big Mandela effect?
I think it was. Do I need to move? Am I like really dark because the
I think
light?
your camera just adjusted. We might be
I
able to, I don't know.
think if I move, I'm seeing that light now too.
Oh, yeah, it's a little bit better there. Yeah.
Is that better?
There we go. Yeah.
Move.
Here we go. Yeah. Michelle
Yeah,
Wolf is here. What is up, sis?
you
She's
know, the big thing for me was I'm trying to get where that light is not coming in. The big thing for me was the Berenstain Bears. And I didn't even know about the Mandela effect. I'm probably the typical person. I didn't notice it until, I saw your channel. And I was like, Berenstain Bears, they spelled that wrong.
yeah.
Because for me, I had two things. Like I had lived in Germany, so I knew the way it should be spelled. And I knew about the IE and EI. I knew about all that. I'm like, where's that? Like, there's an A in there? It's like, no, no. And then also, I had taught children for years. So I read those books so many times. It's like
Oh, yeah.
brain permanently on my head. It's almost like it's tattooed on my forehead there, the correct spelling.
Yeah, so for those that might be in here and they don't know about the Mandela effect, the Berenstein or Berenstein Bears was never that name. It's in this reality, if you go look it up, it looks like it's always been the Berenstain Bears. Even if you vividly remember having conversations with your teacher and about how to pronounce it. I mean, because this is a big one for a lot of people because they're like, no, I remember the teacher explaining Stein and Steen and going into this. There was a huge conversation about it. So why would that conversation be there if it's been Berenstain this whole time? That's ridiculous because I remember the specific conversation and that didn't happen. I mean, it's like they say it's false memories, but you can have this huge conversation in your memory that you had, and it was the Berenstein or Berenstein Bears, but you will look in history, it appears to have always been the Berenstain Bears. Now, if that's not a mind blowing thing there, I don't know what is because it's a trip. Somebody's saying J.C. Penney was their big thing. That was a big one for me too. That extra E just looks so funny to me now.
But I had the thinker one similar to you because my mom did ceramics when I was a kid, so we had that little statue in the house.
Oh yeah,
And I think you had said you had a statue
that
in your
was my
house.
big one. Yep, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I remember very clearly him being down, and I think as a kid, it seems like I was thinking, I can't see his face. Like it's weird
yeah,
how he's like sitting like that.
yeah. Yep,
So
and his whole pose now, he's like really twisted and uncomfortable looking, and it's like no, he used to look really solid and like he's really in deep thought, but his head was down, and I even remember at the flea market hooking my finger in his arm right there to carry the statue, like I know, and I remember drawing it and it looking really funny because I couldn't get the arm to look right and stuff, fist to the forehead, but now fist has never been to the forehead in this reality. And
no,
that's a
but you
trip.
had a really good point when you mentioned that I guess it was a classroom of kids around the real
Yeah,
statue and they have their arms.
yeah, that's trippy right there. Because I think that kind of goes against not that there's not parallel realities and stuff like that, but I think that really points to this reality, the single reality being hacked. Because if when they took the picture, this is a different reality where it's always been like this, then they would be like this. So I
Mhm.
think that's a huge clue. These pictures of people where the statue is changed in the picture because you can tell at the time they took the picture it was the old way. I think that's a big clue as to the fact that reality got hacked in this one timeline somehow. Not to say that I do believe there's parallel probability timelines and things like that, but I don't feel like it's like the people who remember it being that way jumped from a different timeline into this universe that like from one train into the other because if we had jumped timelines in that way, then the statue would have always been that way on this timeline. So I think that points to the fact that, there's been a split. A lot of people talk about a merge. It seems more like a split in, the way things are rather than a merge. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm on the fence about it, but I think that's a good clue because there's more than one picture like that, and it's so funny looking when you see everybody posing the wrong way. It's like, at what point was somebody looking at the photo and saw it switch? I mean, I don't think anybody gets to see it, the magic happen. I think it just happens, but it's pretty trippy.
I know that yeah, I know that for me, I've had two QHHT sessions done for me here, in Houston. There's a lady who works part-time in Houston, part-time in Austin. And I would like to come for New Year's to Austin, by the way. But anyway, I asked about the Mandela effect. That was my extra question. And I think she didn't even know what I was talking about. And I was getting that it was God, it was Source put it here to get our attention, to help waken some people up, get their attention. So that's what I got from my high self.
That's what I've been getting too. It's a wake up call because it really is, and I think we have so many. I think of them as like sleeper cells in the church. Great people, great loving people, but they're so indoctrinated that they're kind of stagnant in their spiritual walk, and they should be doing, or they could be doing, so much more because they have gifts that have been suppressed in a way, because I think a lot of the religious leaders don't want a bunch of Jesus type people running around. They really want people under control more, and when you can break free of the religion and really like Jesus did, he was hanging out with the people that were considered the scum and calling the religious leaders hypocrites, and he was healing people and feeding people and doing all of this stuff, not building gigantic churches and spending billions of dollars on structures that he said would crumble one day. So I don't know. I don't see the religious structure as being spiritual. I see it as being man-made, and I see it as a lot of people are sort of stuck in that prison and not really shining like they could. I'm not judging them, but I'm just saying that I feel like there's so much more. They have so much more potential that is being, suppressed.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of control in it. And me being from that background, I told you about Baptist, Catholic school for 2 years because I wasn't doing well in school. So it was great. I had that. I was happy I wasn't doing well in school. So I had that experience.
Yeah.
And then growing up with Jewish people, when my parents divorced, and then military, being around all kinds of people. Houston, I'm around Hindu, Muslim, Christian, whatever. I think from being around that, I see that we're all just people, and that, certain religions, that they all just need to fall. We all just need to come to a knowing we're all people. Let's all just love each other or help each other out.
That's totally true. I remember getting out of the church, and I would come across people in other religions and stuff, and I was totally blown away that I could tell they were God's people. I could tell they were really loving, good people. I'm like, that makes no sense. They're not in my religion. I thought my religion is the only way, and to have that sort of wake up call that you come across people in all walks and lifestyles and everything, cultures and everything, and then you can feel that love and radiance of like the divine radiating through them, and you can tell they're being used, and yet they're not in your religion. And that to me was a big wake up call. And then not only that, but feeling the guidance, a divine guidance. Once I got out of the church, I'm like, wait, it's still here? I can even feel it stronger now, and it's like, I think a lot of people are stuck because they feel something very real happening, but they don't realize that if they just took a step out on the limb and left the religious structure, the man-made structure, that what they experience as being divine and God and the Holy Spirit and all that doesn't go away. In fact, it becomes stronger and manifests in a much bigger way in your life. It was that way for me anyway.
Yeah, I don't think God cares if you go sit in a church every
Right.
Sunday and have a home group once a week. I think He just cares you're here trying to help people, trying to spread love around. I even had the pastor occasionally go to this non-denominational church. I used to go there, constantly, religiously, Sunday plus whatever. But the pastor he even mentioned how we're getting to this end of this certain age on this, like the 26,000 year whatever. He was talking about that kind of stuff in church. I couldn't believe it. And he's like, and then he's showing us numbers about how there are less people going to church. He's showing all these graphs, and he's like, I'm wondering, where are they? He said, maybe they're like little gods and they're out there doing all these wonderful things. I thought this is really cool. He's not saying,
Was
oh,
this a smaller church?
he's it's grown over the years. I started going there about 11, 12 years ago, but yeah, it's not a mega church. Like here we have Joel Osteen's church.
Which is now
So
Osteen.
yeah, it's not Olstein, it's Osteen.
That's a trip, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, that was
that's
one.
another Mandela effect for anybody tuned in. If you remember Olstein, it's never been Oldstein in this reality. It's always been Osteen, which is just crazy.
Yeah, because I remember it as Olstein because I remember it was kind of hard to say. It was kind of a hard name to say. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. So, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Through the website or your Facebook or?
Yeah, either one. Facebook acts like my name is not really Angie Dollar, so I put dash healer, even though my name is really Dollar. That's what I was born with.
Well, I did include that link below. I do have a link to your YouTube, to the Facebook, and to angiedollar.com. So
Yeah,
people just click that and find you easily.
yeah, website angiedollar.com. So, yeah, and then my email is Angie at angiedollar.com. Yeah, I would offer a free service. Randomly pick one person, first person that I
Maybe the
pick.
11th person.
Oh, 11th would be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody was saying that. They were like, "What did you do to the first?" That like sort of makes it to where um, the younger, fast texting people get I'm slow. It's like, why don't you make it the 11th? I'm like, that's a good idea. I should have done that. Like, because they always do on radio stations. They do like the 11th caller or the 101st caller or whatever it is for the station.
Yeah,
So
that sounds good. So I'll offer a free service to the 11th person that emails me at that Angie at angiedollar.com. I tried to make my email easy. So,
let me type it into the chat, but not, and I won't put it in the description because the bots will. AngieDollar.com.
yeah, you can put it in the description too if you like. Um,
You're not worried about spammers?
no, get my email out there. I'll block them.
Okay, I'll add it below. And yeah, don't feel like that 11 people is already emailed, because I know we offered something before to a past viewer, and I don't think we ever hit the number for them because they were like, oh, they're watching it later. So even if you're watching this later, go ahead and email, because it might be your turn, or it might be your time.
Yeah, maybe your time. Yeah, I'll probably offer some holiday things to buy one, get one half off, or buy one, get one free. Even I've got to talk to my twin flame. I've got to talk to him. He's so good at the business stuff.
That's nice, isn't it, having somebody like that?
I gave him like I was looking for a business name. I came up with Awaken to 5D. I just like I thought, man, I have no idea. I got to switch more from twin flames to like everything, because I've had people come to me with these physical issues and they're getting great results. So I'm like, I want to get more into physical so you can like document it, like
Right.
that lady with the surgery, or we're getting ready to do a thing. I've been working with this shaman who works at Infinity Care. We're getting ready to have this lady going for a blood test so we can document,
Mm-hmm.
get things in writing. So I sent my twin flame like 8 or 9 ideas of business names. And towards the bottom was Awaken to 5D. And he's like, yeah, that's my favorite. I'm like, that was my favorite too.
Yeah, I like that a lot too.
Yeah. So we're generally in line with things, or he'll say something and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's exactly right. I didn't think of that. So, um, but he suggested, hey, holidays are coming up. Give like, buy one, get one free or something like that. I'm like, yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah,
So,
or people could get it as a gift for someone. That would be kind of cool.
yeah, that's what he said. He
Yeah,
said, yeah, they want to give a gift to twin flame or family member or friend, something like that. So it's
yeah.
cool.
Get one for themselves and then get a free one to give away to someone, either their twin flame or someone for Christmas or whatever. And I would recommend anyone that's the BQH course is so cheap now that it's great to add it to what you can do to help other people. And you can, rather than everybody sort of going to someone for a BQH session, If you've got a big family, I mean, you could like learn how to do it, or a couple of people could learn how to do it, and you guys could each take turns on each other. Like a guest I had on not too long ago. But I do have a code below that you can save money for taking that course. Um, so what did you think of the course, the BQH course? Did you like how it was put together?
I liked it a lot. I've gone through two different hypnotism classes and going through hers, which she said is not hypnotism. But she had a lot of great resources. I like how she had it set up where she would have videos, but then she'd also have, little blurbs writing about it. And then she had a whole bunch of resources attached on there that
Oh
you could
yeah.
actually use. You could actually use her client intake form or her,
Yeah, I printed all that out. I went up to, I don't have
yeah.
a printer. I had to go to the Kinko's or whatever, but I created this binder that way.
Mhm.
If I do want to do a session, or if, say, the power goes off, and because I was just going to do them in person or whatever, but, or if I wanted to be mobile and go out somewhere, I would have, everything just printed out without needing to have any kind of a phone or computer with me or whatever. So I found that all of those resources were so helpful, and things that I never even considered. I don't know if they teach it in the other courses, but you know how they kind of went into like someone might be like a cell inside a body, so just because they don't see anything, don't assume that they're not somewhere. What do they feel? And they could literally be anything. So not to really close your mind that okay, they're going back as a human and they're going to be human in this other life or whatever, or even assuming it's the past, it could be the future or anything. So you just to sort
Mhm.
of broaden your awareness of the possibilities, and that was probably the most eye-opening part of the course. I thought it was cool with learning how to do it and everything, but just out of all the things, 'cause I watch like Alba Wyman and people like that online, and watch some of these hypnotists um, do their thing and listen, and there was things that I learned that I just had never seen, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. One of my QHHT sessions, I was showing myself in
Oh,
so
they said it says invalid address. Let me make sure I got it in there right. I'm sorry to cut you off. Angie at angiedollar.com, right?
Angie at angiedollar.com is my email.
Okay. Maybe I typed it wrong. Angie at angiedollar.com. Is that what I typed in there? I might have mistyped it. Is okay. So if they go to your website, and do you have like contact page or something that if
Yeah, I do.
that it'll go the same way?
You can just go to angiedollar.com to the website. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So back to the session you were talking about.
Yeah, one of the sessions that was done on myself, QHHT, I was taken up to a ship, then I was shown myself in energy form just as an energy, it was like all these different like forms that I was shown.
Mm-hmm.
So people can have that happen where they're like, oh, I'm an energy. So,
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've heard some of those too, but it was just being the cell or being a rock, or it's like some of the things that you're like, what, a rock? But I guess that when I was studying the law of one, it was talking about that's like that's like first density. That's 1D. That's you go from the rock and the water and the elements and things into 2D, which is like plant life and animals and things, and then 3D is like the humans. And so learning about all that was really interesting, and to see someone going back to one of those previous densities, it's kind of a trippy thing, you know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, because apparently we've been animals, we've been other things. So,
Yeah, it even talks about how your pets, like you can help them the next time around. They'll probably come up to 3D because they've been around you, and a lot of animals act like like humans. I mean, you can totally tell they understand you, and you say you want to go outside, and then they run to the door and they're like running around and happy to see you when you come in, and totally not like an animal. And for a lot of older people, it is like their babies, empty nesters and stuff. It's like they've got kids again,
yeah,
their
absolutely.
babies. All right. Well, I guess it looks like something was done wrong, and with your email address. So
There's something wrong with the email. I can like send
no,
it
I
to you.
think the way they typed it was wrong. So I think we're good
Oh, okay.
because you put O. So all right. So I guess we will wrap it up, and we can have you check back in sometime, and see how things are going with you.
Yeah, great.
That's wonderful. So lots of love and light to everybody in the chat, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good one. Thanks a lot, Angie.
Thank you.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.